past.
Patricia, really thank you for being here.
Thank
And
you.
I'm saying that because I told you before backstage, but I really admire persons like you.
Thank you.
And this is because in an environment, we are in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
It's not all about spirituality, or the least amount is
Mhm.
about spirituality,
Mhm.
or just the healing process, speaking out loud your emotions, and all this journey,
Mhm.
right? It's
Mhm.
a little bit difficult here in probably Latin America, I would say,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you know more about this. Like, can you tell to the people who are struggling with that,
Mhm.
who are on their journey, but they don't know how to start, where to talk, what to see, because
Yeah.
there's so much out there and you easily can get lost. You are
Very
already
easily.
lost
Yeah.
and you can get lost
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Like, can you tell me a little bit about yours?
Yeah. I feel like the basis of it all is knowing how to connect with yourself and how to listen to yourself. We have so many distractions, like our phones, social media, Netflix, and we're looking outside when really we should be looking inside. To have the ability to just open up a space in your day to just sit with yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and really hear what's going on in your mind, really feel what your heart wants to say, wants to express. I feel like that's one of the most profound and simple things that we can do. And I say simple because it is already there. You don't need anything else. But it's also, it can be a challenge because we've lost the way to our hearts and we don't know how to connect back to it.
Yes.
We have so much fear with everything that's going on in the world that it's almost become impossible for us to say, how do I go back to my heart? Right? Because we're protecting ourselves so much. We have so much collective trauma that we don't want to be hurt. So because we don't want to be hurt, we don't want to tap into our hearts again.
Yeah.
There's a quote that I love, and I heard it about like 2 years ago, and it said, "The price of love is grief."
Oh.
You know what I mean? And it's like when you open yourself up to love again, and when you open yourself up to who you really are, the fact that you are so much more than all of this, you're so much more than the roles that you play, you're so much more than the things that you do, and that you are the universe expressing itself in all divinity, you understand. Obviously the ego goes into that fear of, I'm going to get hurt,
Yeah.
or I'm going to be taken advantage of because of the world that we live in, right? But I would say that that is precisely the more reason for you to go back to your heart, because we live in the world that we live in because we've lost our connection with ourselves. And if everybody, I have a phrase that says, choose yourself. And in Spanish, empieza contigo. Everything ends and starts with you. So if you are to be the first to, in your community, in your society, in your workplace, in your family, to go back to your heart and start connecting with it and start living from your heart, you'll be a way shower and allow other people to do the same thing. And that's one of the bravest thing that we can do as
Yeah.
human beings.
You know, of course, we are afraid of doing mistakes.
Yeah.
We have fears.
Yeah.
But how important, what an important role mistakes actually play. And I find it very sad because I talk we, but
Yeah.
many people take away mistakes,
Yeah.
especially for kids. But if you are not going to do a mistake, to make a mistake, how will you learn out of it?
Yeah.
And if you do the mistake, just really embrace it and don't try to push it away,
Yeah.
because there is so much lesson.
Mm-hmm. There are so many gifts and blessings in the process of the journey.
Yes,
I always say like the journey, and emphasizing that the journey is way more valuable than the end result.
yes, and like I'm a little bit confused because everybody is like in a hurry to get somewhere,
Yeah.
but the life in general, I think, never ends.
Yeah.
Like,
So that's the thing, because I feel like everybody is living in an endless quest. Like we're always looking for something. It's like we're always climbing a mountain and we're climbing it to wait for the moment that we get to the peak. But when we get to the peak, our human condition is that we're going to see a new peak that we're going to climb to,
Yeah.
and it's, if we don't understand that the beauty of life is, oh my God, I just had a deja vu. The beauty of
Happens.
life, yeah, that the beauty of life is in the present moment, where you are in this moment of the climb, you'll see how you'll have everything that you've been looking for right here, right
Love it.
now.
Love it.
And in terms of the mistakes, we live in a world that, I mean, you have Hollywood, right? What do they feed you? They feed you the perfect
Perfection.
life, like perfect bodies, perfect careers, perfect lives. And it disconnects us from our nature as humanity, as humans. We are meant to make mistakes. We are meant to try. We are meant to fail. We are
To have the
meant to
experience of the
learn.
things, of different things.
Exactly. Something that I learned and realized as an educator working in the school system is that we want to make it easier for the child. And so we take away their lessons because we don't want them to be hurt. But life is about getting hurt, falling down, getting hurt, and getting back up and continuing
So
your
I think
journey.
the total opposite is happening. Instead
Exactly.
of making it easier, we take away all the
Exactly.
lessons.
Exactly. And the other day I met a woman that she used a phrase that was very interesting. And she said, the problem with today's generation is that there is no problem. They don't have any real issues.
Yeah.
When you look at the boomers, they grew up in an era where there were wars. So you were really connected with survival, where, like, okay, either you're in war and you're part of the community, you're fighting for something, then there's some sort of purpose there collectively, or you're back home and you're making sure that you know that you have food to eat, that
Yeah.
the people that stayed behind are. So the sense of community was there. After the boomers, you have Gen X. Gen X was, okay, how can we thrive in a post war era? And we're going to create this stability with careers where we're going to, we're going to grow up and we're going to get married, we're going to have kids, we're going to do all of the right things, we're going to get retired, and then we're going to enjoy life,
Yeah.
right? And now we have millennials and we have Gen Z. Millennials, we are like, have all this collective trauma from these two generations that did
That
not
we
know
have
what to
to
do.
heal. We have to heal all of them.
We are like the pattern, we're breaking the pattern, and we are up against that. And then we have Gen Z, where they literally, essentially, they have no issue. In their upbringing, they had everything at their disposal.
Yeah.
They had technology. The fact that you did not have to survive as much, like access to food, access to resources, has gotten a lot better in the last couple of years, and that was something that was taken away from them in a way that their issues are not those. And so that's why when you look at like today's younger generation, and don't come at me, it's just natural process, I feel like, and everything is perfect up to some point, but it does explain where we're at. um that it is your job to come back to themselves and connect, and the same thing that is seen as an asset, technology,
Yeah.
is being misused
Yeah.
because they're not connected.
It's usually after the peak comes the fall, right?
Exactly.
And I want to go back to something
Yeah.
and continue
Yeah.
with the journey. I want to go back to, I don't want to get misunderstood by the
Hmm.
people that being ambitious is beautiful.
Yeah.
Having ambitions and what, but enjoying the process, like understanding that the struggle, the difficulties are part.
Yeah.
And they're gonna grow you in a way or in another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the person you're gonna become is not only because of the success.
It's funny that you say that, because that's exactly what I was going to say in terms of mistakes. As an educator, I know that there's no learning taking place if you're not making mistakes in the process. So that's something that I would encourage a lot my students to do, my middle school and high school students that were they would be so self-conscious that they did not want to make any mistakes. But I was like, no, I encourage mistakes. If you're making mistakes, it means you're making progress because you're trying different things, right? But what's interesting about what you say is that the beautiful part of the process is that every single mistake and every single challenge that you encounter in the journey makes up the person that is worthy of receiving the success in the end. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
that makes
Because
sense.
otherwise, if we
You,
were born
you don't
knowing
gonna
everything,
appreciate it. It's like
exactly,
kids that grow up in Miami and have
have
everything, or
everything.
wherever. Sorry,
No, that it's just a valid example.
yes,
Yeah. But exactly, we were born to learn, we were born to evolve,
yeah,
right? So, but we if we don't know how to hold it, if we say I want to win the lottery, and if you don't know how to deal with money, if you don't know how to maintain the frequency of abundance, you're going to waste it all. You're going to
yes.
lose it in no time. So it's kind of like the same
So,
thing.
Patricia, many people, and I include me, especially in the past, I asked for material things,
Yeah.
but let's say money, and I didn't have the knowledge how to use it or how to invest it, or and then I had it, and then I lost
You
it.
didn't know what to do with it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that was the best lesson.
Yeah.
So instead of asking for money,
Yeah.
ask for the wisdom to actually use it,
Exactly.
right?
But the wisdom is best acquired in the process of learning.
It is. It is.
Because it's not the same. Like I can tell you, Alex, oh, this I learned this through this experience, and I can tell you, and you would be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Intellectually speaking, you can receive the lesson through me from what I experienced,
Yes.
but it's never the same as to when you experience it in your own flesh, in your own skin, in your own
Yes.
process.
Experience beats knowledge.
Exactly. Exactly.
Usually, especially we are talking about experiences,
Mm-hmm.
which I love. Always when life puts me in situation when it's like very uncomfortable. This was last time. Actually, it's happening now because I have to teach a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
to people, but it happens very strongly when I was in India.
Mm.
I had to decide if I'm gonna do a course about a month, and it was every day over 8 hours of learnings, teachings, and I was so uncomfortable with it that I didn't want to make it, and I stopped, and I said to myself, always when this situation arises in my life, I know that this is exactly the path I have to deal with right
Mm-hmm.
now, so I grow,
Mm-hmm.
and I did it, and I'm very grateful I did, and so this was actually a thought of me yesterday. Now it's happening, the uncomfortable things, because it's so much and you don't know how to go through.
Yeah.
But you learn how to go through while doing the first step, actually.
Yeah.
And not saying, oh, that's too much,
Mm-hmm.
and why now and maybe later. No, exactly now, where it feels uncomfortable and you don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's the right spot.
Yeah. 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 Because you're stepping outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
And what's important about stepping outside of your comfort zone is actually realizing that that's the opportunity of growth right there. And your comfort zone, something that I was describing to somebody else, I think it was yesterday, I described the comfort zone as the zone where the ego feels in control.
Yes. Okay. Wow. Yes. 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 Yes.
So if you're really looking
I had
for
to think of it.
soul expansion and soul growth, you can't let your ego determine what feels good and what doesn't. That's where you need to step out of it.
Okay. You
Does
have
that make sense?
100%. I stopped for a second and I
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
thought of that, but it makes sense. You have 2 minutes time, and you want to teach people what the ego is. What would you tell them? The- and usually, when we can explain that to a 5-year-old,
Yeah.
we know it.
Yeah.
We know how to
Yeah.
explain it to
Uh-huh.
everybody.
So I define the ego as a part of you that whose role is to make sure that you survive.
Hmm.
That's it. Like you're a human being, you're part of a community, you're part of a world that has rules that whose existence is determined by things that are inside of you and outside of you. The ego is just the part of you that tells you you're in danger, you're not in danger, this is good, this is bad. It's kind of like your
Survival mechanism. Yes and
yes
no.
and no. Yes and no. It's definitely survival because obviously you want to survive, you don't want to die. It's kind of like the part of you that flips on the switches when something is wrong. But the ego is also the part of you that seeks to be in control and to be defined by what it can control.
You
Does that make
know, the
sense?
funny part is that in India they teach me ego is likes, dislikes, and fears.
Yeah. Judges.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like,
It's kind of like your judgment call, your internal judgment call is your ego.
yeah. And what a big role plays the ego in this whole journey.
And it's so important in people what's the word? They think bad about it. They think like the ego is bad, but it's not.
Yeah.
It serves a purpose.
Yeah. That brings me to another topic, which is the demons inside of us.
Yeah.
Right. I'm the best example in my life because I did it so many times. I try to push them away because demons are
Yeah.
the fears, are all the,
Everything
the
that's
dark
uncomfortable,
side.
chaos, exactly.
And I used to push them away, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe that so many people try to push them away. But
Mm-hmm.
again, mistakes. What a big lesson is your demon trying to teach you.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, your darkness is a part of you that you're still learning how to love about yourself. That's it.
And I know from what you told me, like your journey has been quite a big thing,
Yeah.
like over years. So you had to face a lot of demons, probably,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
What what was the moment you made the switch to understand that actually the demons are the place I have to go and make peace with?
That's a very interesting question. Um, because the moment that I told you about earlier, like the moment that I saw my dark side and committed to the light,
Mhm.
I did that from a level of awareness, very consciously. But I realized now, with this level of awareness, that there was a part of me that was suppressing my dark side.
Yeah.
So I know that I've been consciously integrating my dark side for the past 3 years, but I feel like I'm about to start that journey right now.
Oh,
So it's funny that you asked me that question because the reading that I had yesterday done, they said that they were like, there's a part of her darkness that she needs to learn how to appreciate and love and not suppress it, like by staying in the light. And I've been thinking a lot about that, and I'm like, I kind of know what it is, but I kind of don't know what it is.
yeah.
So I am one to take guidance very seriously. So I'll see what comes through.
Yeah. I have a thing that I say, which is the surgery of society.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. When we get born and we are young, we are so joyful, we are playful, we are real.
Yeah.
We do exactly what our heart, our like our belly is calling us
Yeah.
to do,
Yeah.
right?
We're
And we
connected.
just go for it. Yes, we
Yeah.
are more connected. And through, like, I have a good example. When you ask, you're a teacher,
Yeah.
like when you ask the first class, the first grade, who can sing?
Mm-hmm.
How many hands gonna go up?
Yeah.
Almost all of them, right?
Yeah.
But ask the same question 5 years ago,
For
later,
later.
or 10
Yeah.
years later. Maybe not even 50% gonna go
No,
up.
not even. Yeah.
Why? What's happening in this period?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I call the surgery of society. Something happens between the childhood and the adulthood.
What do you think it is?
That's a good question. I think it's the influence and how we get raised to have a certain lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Raised by who?
It can be by parents, somebody who doesn't have parents, maybe
Mm-hmm.
grandparents, or just in the school, it can be the process,
Mm-hmm.
friends, because you don't always have the influence over your kid because they
Yeah.
go to friends and
Mm-hmm.
these friends are influenced by their parents. So
Yeah.
if their friends will tell them like this is bad, maybe the kid gonna change and think that's bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the surgery of society can happen with in many ways.
Yeah.
Did you experience that? And because you
Yeah. For my
clearly
journey,
left
yes.
left
Yeah.
that past that doesn't
Yeah.
define you anymore, which is something very beautiful, and people should know that
Yeah.
the past is good that it's the past.
Yeah.
That's not who you are today.
Yeah. No, 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 it's beautiful. I did not experience it the way that you describe it, and the way that I know that it happens collectively as a teacher. I can tell you that. I was very lucky enough to be to allow myself to be connected, and I was allowed as well by my environment, like the adults and my family and everyone around me, to have a childhood very connected. I was very present. I had that opportunity. It was actually in high school. It was actually my teenage years. It was actually me when the time came for me to realize like I want to know who I really am. Mm, farther than who I've been in the past. Like as my 14-year-old self, so up until that point, I defined myself and I was defined as a dancer and as an artist, a performer. I would get on stage more than 8 times a year, like since I was 5 years old. Like that's how I grew up. And I can definitely say that being on stage was the highlight of my days and the highlight of my years. And I knew that being on stage, I could always be myself. I could always, that was the moment that I actually always felt connected to my light. And I was able to always tap into my power, tap into my purpose here by me being on stage. But when teenage years came through, I was like, I want to know who I am beyond the stage, beyond the performing artist, beyond the dancer. And I stopped doing all of those things. And what happens in teenage years? You're, as a girl, you're not only connecting to your sexuality, but you're also wanting to belong to a group of friends. You're wanting the attention of boys. All of these things that in the past were not important were now important. And that's where I feel like because of the grooming that my peers had received and I wanted to fit into their environment, that's when it happened. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And yeah, it was hard, but like we were talking before earlier, it's it's beautiful because that was a moment that I got to disconnect from myself, make the mistakes that I needed to make to come back to myself.
How old were you in this moment?
14.
Oh, that's very early.
Yeah. So and I did some terrible mistakes for a
Yeah.
14-year-old, right? But I was just talking about it last week with some friends that we went to the same school, and she was like, wow, it's incredible how like you've come full circle, and it's there's so much power for the people that know you from that time to see who you've become, because the people that have seen me grow up know how that was a fuel for me to become who I was.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But definitely I got disconnected, and like I went into like all of this for like 5 6 years. So from when I was like 13 14 to when I was like 18 19, which was the other spiritual awakening that I was telling you about.
Before we were talking about that
Yeah.
we take so many opportunities away from the young generation
Yeah.
because they are kind of forced to do a thing and to become
One thing, this is what you
yes,
need to do.
professional, the best on this one thing.
Yeah.
But it's actually sad because you have so much. You can play
So many
creativeness.
things that you could do, so many things that we can explore, and like that that was something that actually broke my heart when I was a teacher, because I worked with middle school and high school. I was teaching at one of the best schools here in the Dominican Republic, and what broke my heart was to see families that had everything. The kids, they did not like they had everything: resources, money, opportunities, connections, networking. They could literally do anything, and they were forced to go to college to study administration or something that had to do with like the family's company.
Yeah.
They would go, and then they would have like a desk waiting for them back in the company back here.
And I believe that's one thing that's gonna make them miserable in the
Exactly.
far future.
Exactly. And me being one of the dance teachers or performing arts teacher, I would see the kid and know that this kid has so much power in the performing arts or in the visual arts, and then have them literally toss all of that talent and creativity away because they need to do this, what their
Yeah.
family is telling them to do for a family legacy.
Hi, Patricia. So, yeah, that's wonderful because now we can see back and see that clear.
Yeah.
But the importance of forgiveness, clearly, first of all, for ourselves, like our life, our mistakes, and later on, forgive any person or situation what we
Yeah.
thought harmed us.
Yeah. Or limited us.
Yes. Like in my experience, this was one of the things that were so important and
Mm.
gave me so much. they let me actually tap into my real power,
Mm,
because there is no more grief, there is no more pain, there is no
yeah.
more suffering out of others' actions.
Mm-hmm.
You take responsibility
Mm-hmm.
and you set kind of peace with what's happened,
Yeah.
and you know that this was for a higher good in
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah. And you're able to let it go. Just yesterday, I saw a video and it was about forgiveness. It was beautiful. The guy said, forgiveness happens in a moment. Forgiveness happens in a moment. It's the process for that moment that takes time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like, it's a decision. You say, I'm gonna forgive you. I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna, choose to look forward and leave that in the past. But it is a whole process for you to get there. And a lot of people are not willing to do
Yeah.
that process because it hurts. It's difficult.
And the important part is also that forgiveness is not forgetting.
Exactly.
It's kind
It's
of
learning
accepting.
from it
So it
and
doesn't
releasing it.
control you anymore.
Exactly.
You, yes, you are good. You said peace. You said peace with that emotion,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It took me a good amount of time, but it is so liberating and so wonderful. So you open up something in you to be vulnerable again.
Yeah.
And how important is vulnerability?
Very important. It's the foundation of what I was saying at the beginning, the connection to your heart. Like if you're not willing to feel vulnerable as you open up and connect with your heart, then like you're always going to be limiting your experience. Brene Brown, I don't know if you know her work, she's a powerful researcher in terms of human emotions, and she studies vulnerability and shame. And
Mm,
what she's discovered is that when you try, as a human being, for survival mode, when you try to suppress the negative emotions, you also suppress the positive emotions. You can't suppress one and not suppress the other.
yeah.
So if you are trying to block out any negative experience, you're also blocking out the positive experience. And basically, what she says is, if you want to live a fulfilled, happy, joyful life, you need to be willing to go through the shame, to go through the guilt, to go through the fear, to go through the vulnerability of that process, because that is also part of the human experience. And it's what I was telling you earlier.
You know,
Allow yourself to feel that.
I love it. I love it. I've seen you do like ice bath with people, and you do yoga, and
Yeah.
you do many different things, right? Kind of the purpose is to bring them closer to their healing or to their truth, or what is your purpose behind that?
Forgetting people,
Yes, exactly.
to reconnect them with their
Curriculum.
truth. Yeah.
Beautiful. And that's one thing I'm so grateful that you are here, because you are doing that in a place, as we said before,
Yeah.
not so close to those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Like, um, you have 2 minutes and you want to bring people to that,
Mm-hmm.
like to understand that they don't have to be scared.
Yeah.
They can start somehow. How do you bring people closer? I know we don't have to help everybody, and we don't have to heal everybody.
Yeah.
But as more people as we can touch,
Yeah.
as better it's gonna
Yeah.
be. Like how? What's the process of bringing people closer to that? Because I understand the
Like
skepticism.
what would I do, or what's the actual process that has to?
What's the actual process? So people can be like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
resonate with that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
scared right now to
Yeah.
open up to go to these places.
Beautiful question. It's learning how to be a container of a safe space.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. So you're a yoga teacher. What As a yoga teacher, you become a container of a space where everybody is learning and you're
I see.
guiding.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like you are the guide, you're
Giving
the leader, you're the
space.
teacher. Everybody is looking towards you. Everybody somehow is connected. They all want to learn from you. They're looking at you for you to do the flow. You're the one putting in the intention. You're the one giving the instructions and directions. And that's all beautiful.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to do that from a place of inner safety and share that with everybody present in the class, that's the difference between a good yoga teacher in this example and a yoga teacher that's going to get you through the asanas and then leave you in
Yeah.
shavasana, right? I feel like that is the key. So the process I would tell you is open up a safe space. People just want to feel safe. We don't feel safe in the world. So what's the best answer that I can give you? Doesn't matter where I'm at, and this is something that I use to actually introduce myself in spaces. And it doesn't matter what capacity you see me, whether you see me as a teacher, as an artist, as a performer, as a healer, as a coach, as a guide, as a whatever it
Anything.
is.
Yes.
My purpose is to open up a safe space for you to feel safe, for you to feel seen, for you to feel loved, for you to feel supported, which is what we don't have outside.
Yeah.
That's I feel like that's the number one thing. Just a space for us to feel safe and be able to see each other, be able to sustain each other, and see each other as equals. Be able to be there present with each other. For 1 minute, just like leave the judgment aside, leave the to-do list aside, leave the role outside. Just let's sit down.
How beautiful to start building communities with this purpose.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, materialistic things,
Yeah.
beautiful,
Yeah.
and you can have them. Nobody tells you that they are bad. But knowing how to use them, yes, how to balance them in your life, and like being guided by maybe a higher force. You can call it God, you can call it
Yeah.
universe, energy, call it whatever is comfortable for you. But deep inside of us, I think we know that there is something else calling us. And
Mm-hmm.
for some people, is I would say the experiences of past lives
Yeah.
to relearn them, to
Yeah.
change them. And all of us have something which is called intuition. Some people have it stronger and louder. Some others maybe don't know how to use it or to listen to it yet. But everybody has the capacity
Yes.
to tap into that.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, it's actually a pity if you don't go for a search to discover
Yeah.
like that you are more. And I believe that many people know that they are meant for more,
Yeah.
but the fear of doing the actual step and letting people behind, friends, family, relationships, is the actual hurdle they have
Yeah.
to make.
Because those are the lessons that we're meant to confront in our lives.
Yeah.
Everything is a spiritual lesson. Everything is an opportunity for us to grow, to learn, to expand. Like we were talking about mistakes earlier. When you say, like, for example, oh, a relationship did not work out. Yes, it did work out. It served a purpose. It's just that because it served its purpose, you're meant to move on from it,
Yeah.
right? So it's exactly the same thing with every single experience and every single stage of your life. It's just that from our egoic mind, we always want to be in control. We always want to understand what's happening. We always want to feel like we know where we're going. The truth is that we don't.
Yeah.
Like,
Thank you for that.
this
Yes.
universe is so big. How can we pretend to believe that we know it all, to believe that we know everything that we're going to go through, everything that we're going to experience in this life? And the moment that you think that you do, you're automatically limiting what you can experience in this lifetime, what you can learn.
And Patricia, everything has kind of its end.
Yeah.
Like it can be an era of a country or the life and death, which death is not an end.
Cycles.
It's just yes,
Cycles.
cycles.
Transformation,
Doors,
moving over. Yeah.
doors, and changing the
Yeah.
scenario,
Yeah.
changing the movie.
Yeah.
Which I'm actually right now. If you ask me, I'm not afraid of dying.
Me
I'm
neither.
afraid of not having done all the things I had in my energetic field. Like
Yeah.
I was capable of doing and I haven't.
Yeah.
So this year is kind of no procrastination anymore. Procrastination is the killer of all hopes
Yeah.
and dreams.
Yeah.
I'm tired of that.
Amazing.
I'm so tired of that. And
Amazing.
that's what I want to give. That's
So
why
what's your first step in terms of like honoring that right now?
I started the podcast. I I started teaching really bigger groups of
Mm-hmm.
holistic things like yoga, meditation, breath work, healing in general. Like all the lessons I received and I
Yeah.
was lucky to receive,
Yeah.
I say to people, you don't have to travel the world how I did.
Yeah.
You don't. I can give you that in days, hours, all my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But just tap into your own.
To your knowing.
Exactly.
Capital K.
And people and people say, yes, but it's so difficult. Yes, but who told you it shouldn't be difficult? And why should it be easy?
Because we're looking for something that it's inherent in us, but it's been conditioned out of us.
Yeah.
And that's the road back. But that's the journey of life.
I feel like there were a lot of realizations in this talk.
Yeah, a lot more than before, which is beautiful.
I stopped and I was, oh,
Yeah.
something is going on.
Yeah.
So wow. Okay. Patricia, really, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here and making the time and coming to like Punta Cana.
Thank you for the invitation. It's been a beautiful conversation, honestly. We need to have more of these. That's why I understand the importance of opening up the space and the energy. And like for me, because of the work that I do, like if you think about it, like I drove over here today and it's just I'm so connected to just allowing myself to be guided to wherever it is that I need to be that I didn't even think much of it because this is way more important than whatever other obstacle or thing that I my mind thinks that I need to do. At the end of the day, it's just the being with the capital B in the present moment, however it shows up, connecting with the right people, opening up the space for the right conversations. And
Yeah.
the new earth we were talking about earlier, it's like literally creating the new earth from within. How does that show up with the outside world? In this case, it was your invitation and co-creating in that way to really manifest that in our reality. So
Well,
thank you for the invitation.
again, thank you. And I used to say, see you when I see you. So who knows where we're gonna meet each other next time
Again,
or
yes.
ever again. So good.
Beautiful,
Yeah, good to
beautiful.
have you here.